Hey, this is Coach G from Unbreakable. Welcome. This is video 2 in a 4-part video series where we begin building your elite mindset. In the first video, we talked about the 3 C's, which are the foundation of building that elite mindset. The first C is getting conscious, the second C is control, and the third C is command. Today, we're going to talk about how to build authentic confidence. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get started. All right, so the confidence conundrum. Why the confidence conundrum? Well, you're going to find out here in a minute and how most people get stuck at the starting point of building confidence. So building elite confidence that's authentic and sustaining, requires challenge. It requires learning new things. So when you're in this headspace, and you understand you have the elite mindset built, you understand that when you face a challenge, that's a yes. You want to face challenges because that's where the growth occurs. Challenge equals better. You're going to gain new skills. And challenge equals both wins and losses. So you might say, well, I don't want to really be experiencing the losses. Can I do this without the losses? Well, you all know, right, that you've experienced losses and you're going to. It's inevitable. But through the losses oftentimes comes the biggest growth cycles if you have the mindset to disseminate that, to take it apart, to look at it, and then to apply action steps to make yourself better. So with challenge comes new skill acquisition. That's always good because that's going to make your performance better. And when you have this mindset in place, when you understand the cycle of building confidence, what you actually come out with is a fun process. When you've done it enough, it becomes fun because you know the benefits of it. All right, so what does it mean to be unbreakable when it comes to your confidence? Well, it is a focused, sustained challenge that you derive benefit from and that you build your confidence along the way. And it's going to make sense here in a minute. But creating resilience is a byproduct of this confidence cycle. And resilience translates into something that we talk about as being grit. Now, what is grit? Well, there's a definition of grit, and unfortunately, not a lot of people understand what grit is. I don't hear that term being used very much anymore. But this is what grit actually is. It is firmness of character and indomitable spirit, and my favorite 2 synonyms are fortitude and resolution. Fortitude means that you're solid. You know yourself, you know your possibilities, and you do not hesitate to act. And resolution is, this is sort of a mindset and an energy emanation where you're in no matter frickin' what, this is going to happen mentality and the energy that goes along with that. So the confidence misconception is that I need confidence before I can face a challenge. Well, that's where people get stuck. If you're not confident, how are you supposed to face the challenge if you believe you need confidence before you face the challenge? Now, many athletes and people in general believe that confidence comes before, that you can derive the confidence before you actually attempt something new or difficult or challenging. This cycle, this belief system creates a mindset where athletes begin to avoid the very experiences that will build the confidence. And waiting for confidence can oftentimes very much lead to stagnation. So what is confidence really? Confidence equals what you now know plus what you're going to learn by facing the challenge. So you're an athlete. You know what it feels like to take action. All right? You know that you cannot get better if you don't do things to help you get better. So we're not going to sit in this space of hope we get better. We know we have to act in order to get better. And through this process, we begin building authentic confidence. It is a state that emerges from facing challenges with the right mindset. Sustainable confidence comes as a byproduct of understanding through challenges that you can figure things out and that you become better for it. And the emotional byproduct of facing challenges and learning and developing mastery. And this is going to become more evident to you as we go along. So let's take a look at the confidence cycle. We're going to start up here at the top where it's red. We're going to see this is where we face a challenge. Now, if you don't have a growth mindset, if you don't know how to look for benefit, this is where you start and this is also where you stop. So you have to get to the point where you say to yourself, I am going to benefit from doing something hard, something difficult, something challenging, something unknown. And you move from clockwise, from position 1, you move to 2. And this is where you begin learning and growing by actually having taken the action because you didn't let yourself get stuck and say, I have got to have confidence in order to take this action. No, you're over here. You're already learning and growing. You're 10 steps ahead. And through the experience of learning and growing, then you begin to build your experience bank. And we're going to talk about this in the next video. And from there, you start to realize that there's increased willingness to continue to do this because you actually like getting better. You like seeing the progress. And stage 5, this is where the confidence really starts to become evident. You start to feel it. And these 2, 3, 4, and 5 steps lead you to step 6, which is the ability to take on another challenge. Now, if you get to step 6 and you're ready to go back to step 1 again, and you forget, hey, I'm a little fearful of taking this challenge, you just go right back to step 3. And you remind yourself, you've already done this before. This is just another new thing that I'm going to do. And then you start the cycle over again at step 1 to step 2 and so on. And in this process of going through these cycles multiple times, you are going to be building this, number 3, your experience bank account. And you will begin to draw from that, just like you would from a regular bank account. All right. So step 1, again, is face the challenge. Encounter something difficult. Put yourself against something challenging that's going to help you to get better. And you have to approach it with a new mindset. Whatever happens, I'm going to learn something valuable from this. Look at what happened last time I did this. And this is where growth begins, not where confidence is required. And you focus on the process and not the outcome. And this is going to become more evident to you here in a moment. So step 2 is learn and grow. Be able to extract specific lessons from each experience, again, because you're looking for them because you have a growth mindset, right? You're looking for specific things. And then you start saying to yourself, well, what adjustments could I make that would improve the execution of these things? Now, transform failure into data points is a really interesting process, and I'm going to kind of go into depth here for just a moment. So just think about this. If I told you, hey, I have these 3 things, I want you to go out and try these 3 things and then come back to me and tell me what works. And you go out and you say, hey, 1 and 3 work great, 2's a no-go. And I say, okay, here, let's adjust number 2. Now go out and try that again and come back and tell me what it's like. And you go out and try it again and you're like, yeah, it's kind of better, but it's really still like, this thing isn't working. I say, okay, here, apply this and then go out and try that thing again. And you come back and you're like, okay, things are getting better now. Well, what are you doing there? You're gathering data points. So there really is no failure. Failure only comes from the mindset that agrees with the failure. This is the part that you have to reorganize, get rid of, for lack of better terms. You have to have a new mindset. You're not failing, you're gathering data points and then you're reorganizing it. And you're not personalizing it or criticizing yourself or judging yourself. Instead, you're gathering data points and looking for proof that things are getting better or looking for proof that things are not getting better. And if they're not, then applying different stimulus to make them better or selecting a new process altogether. And you seek feedback as valuable information for improvement. Well, by the time we get your mind completely organized, you'll be a closed loop that gets to give your own feedback because you know where to look to make those improvements and adjustments. Not to say that you can't have external help, you should, but I want you to get to a point in your mindset where you're able to gather data points, make adjustments, get the feedback from the adjustments, and then go from there. Okay? All right. Step 3, build your experience bank. Every challenge faced is a potential deposit that you put in your mental bank account. Okay? And this is the evidence that you can face difficult challenges, overcome them, survive, and eventually thrive. And the greatest deposits often come from, again, your biggest struggles, and that goes back to wins and losses, and why losses are so important, because they provide such valuable information where adjustments can be made. And also your experience bank is proof of your resilience, which begins to build your grit. Inside the program, I have a whole module on how to do this. Okay? So increased willingness is step 4. Every time you make a deposit, every time you face a challenge, you now have more evidence and you're more willing to take on the next challenge. And it's not because you're fearless, but it's because you've already faced so many challenges with this growth mindset. You know the process of gathering data points and making adjustments, that you're just making that progress, that uphill climb where progress is being made. And each cycle builds momentum for the next challenge. In step 5, this is where authentic confidence begins to be built with more and more challenges that you face. As long as your mindset is looking for those data points and is recognizing those data points and is using your emotional fuel, which we'll talk about in video 4, using that emotional fuel to fuel your physical abilities. Okay? Sustained confidence comes from knowing that you can face anything, take on that challenge, and reap benefits from it regardless of the outcome. This is not an outcome-based mindset. This is a process-based mindset. And resilient confidence withstands any of those losses, especially the big ones. And we can talk about everything from a championship loss to facing a devastating injury and being able to come back from that. And through that recovery process, learning and growing so much. And it's self-generated versus externally dependent. All right. So how do athletes typically undermine their confidence? Well, we talk about they avoid challenges. And when we talk about safe competitions here, I'm not talking about actually the physical competitions, because you probably do not have the ability to select your competitions. If you do, then, play up. And I talk about playing up a lot inside the program, right? So these competitions are usually more personal, challenging yourself to face something that you didn't think you could accomplish. That is the competition. The competition is internal with yourself. Okay? All right, misinterpreting failures. Again, data points here. Okay, we talked about that a lot. All right, and then requiring external validation. Okay, so my whole goal is to get you that closed loop where you see your data points. You are making your adjustments. You are self-reliant. Yes, you're using your coach and coaching staff to help you out with this, because this is where outside the box thinking comes. This is that group atmosphere where things can only get better, right? But you're not reliant on it, because if you're reliant on external validation, then you are not confident. and you don't have self-worth, we want you to understand how to do this cycle so that your self-worth, your confidence grows exponentially in a natural, authentic way. Remember, you're going to take this and go do regular life too, because you're more than just an athlete, right? You have regular life too. All right, implementing the starting phase. What does this look like? 10 to 15% beyond your comfort zone. Now, here's the thing. Athletes are many superheroes, right? So don't feel as if you're a numbers person that you have to stop at 15%. If you normally go like, 20, 25%, great, do that, okay? Prepare growth mindset responses, because if your old mental responses were to come to quick judgment about that's a failure, then you have to preset these responses. What are you going to say? Write it down. This is going to give me valuable information regardless. That's a very typical one. All right. So start looking for the valuable information. Document your experiences. Write down what you attempted, what you learned, what you could learn, what you could try next. And look for the growth, not the outcome. If you fell flat on your face, great. That's a data point. We got to come back here and make some adjustments. Celebrate the courage to attempt regardless of the result. Okay, so in other words, celebrate the fact that you are building your resilience and grit. So your challenge this week, identify one challenge to take on within 7 days. Now we're going to look at a 12-week cycle, right, which is 12 of those 7 days, that stretches you beyond your comfort zone and provides specific learning opportunities, which will again help you deposit more into that mental bank account. So let's look at this chart for a moment. Now I'm going to point some things out. Challenge types are over here: physical, mental, social, technical. Okay, so if we just want to work on the physical, that's fine. We're looking for the red data points, or the mental, that's fine. We're looking at the green data points, which you're going to see along this line here. And these are the growth metrics, and we'll talk about this at the end of this chart. But here is the weeks. Okay, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, so on, and confidence and growth percentages gain. Now, this is based on a typical psychological growth pattern in performance skill acquisition and mental training programs. This doesn't count for the extremes. This is just an average. So if we take a look at this, and if you've already watched video 1, this is where video 1 steps in and starts to begin to explain itself a little bit more. Your initial growth. Now let's talk about your initial growth for a minute. I want you to think about when you were 5 years old, right? And the amount of growth in your physical performance skill set from 5 to 16. Night and day. Okay? Then and then we'll talk about the building phase. Okay? Just stay with me, it'll make sense. Your initial growth cycles are typically very large. That's down here. Okay? When you start the process, you can see it's a 3% weekly average growth per week. As you get into the building phase, this is the C number 2. This is C number 1, the consciousness phase. You're getting conscious of a new skill and you start to apply. This is C number 2. This is the control phase. This is where you begin to get control over that skill set, whatever it is that you're building it, because you have the control phase acting here, right? You have your framework. You're working on that framework. You're practicing that framework. And then when we get up here to this, and forget plateau phase, that's what they use. I don't see it as a plateau. This is the mastery phase. This is C number 3, where you're commanding. You're becoming aware and starting something new. In this phase here, in that building phase, you're starting to control it, to be able to rely on it. And when you get up here into this mastery phase, this is where you're commanding. This is where the fine-tuning comes in. So let's go up to the growth metrics on the top right, and you're going to see in your initial phase from weeks 1 through 4, you have a 12% increase. In weeks 5 through 8, This is an 18% increase, so we've bumped up because we're working that control phase. We have a better idea of what we're doing, and we're practicing and practicing, practicing. We're getting better, and that is shown in that 18%. And then when we get in the command phase down here, that late phase, we see a drop, but that's because you're already mastering the skill and you're becoming more and more elite. Well, if you're already an elite athlete, you know this to be true. It is, you are happy if you can get a 2 to 3% gain. All right? So I look at this whole mental framework, mental strength training, as sort of kind of what we would consider one of the last frontiers. This is where it is, you're going to get that 2 to 3% gain up here when you're already an elite athlete. It's where you're going to get the 20% better here when you are a really good athlete. Okay? And the initial growth, well, you're going to get better, 12%. I'd take 12% all day long. When you look at a 12-week phase back up here in the top right again, that's a 45% growth cycle over 12 weeks. But let's say you're already elite. You'd take 2% all day long. Okay? So even if that was cut in half or quarters, when you're getting really, really good at what you do, you're going to take these gains. All right? All right, so recap. Confidence is built by facing challenges with a mindset that looks at the outcome for does not look at the outcome, looks at the process data points to refine those data points, to change those data points so that the outcome is growth, is improving your performance. Each engagement in the cycle strengthens your confidence. We already talked about every time you go around that circle and engage a new challenge, you're gaining more and more sustainable confidence. And the confidence cycle creates a self-sustaining system of growth, obviously, so it feeds back and forth. And your greatest potential isn't waiting to be built, it's waiting to be uncovered. And this is where we very much start talking about you getting back in your power, because you literally, your mindset and emotional profile are either helping you or hurting you, nothing else. Your physical ability is just like, hey, let's go. It's your mind and emotions that are either helping the physical body perform better or not. That's it. So if you have this question, I just answered it. Your mindset going into the competition or inside the competition and your emotional regulation is the difference between practice and competition. End of story. In the program, we talk about how to actually do that. And we're going to talk about it in video 4 anyways, okay? We're going to talk about it in video 4, so stay tuned. But don't skip video 3, because video 3 extends this confidence cycle so that you can get to the emotional control in video 4. All right? So yeah, so I just talked about that, the importance of building your unbreakable bank account, which is next. This is your mental bank account, this stage 3 in the confidence cycle. See, one thing leads to the next. And then, of course, in video 4, is regulating your emotional fuel for elite athletic performance. So my whole goal is to get you to a point where you start to recognize that you are in control of your emotions and your mindset. You have to place belief systems and emotional fuel to fuel your athletic performance in order to constantly be making gains, getting better, especially at the elite level where you have so many challenges. You have to reorganize your relationship with what a challenge really is and use data points instead of failure to help process what you're challenging yourself to do in an organized fashion that is going to benefit your mindset and your body over your athletic career, but more so even on a day-to-day to a week-to-week basis. So this is the point where I say, hey, go to my website, go to the Unbreakable website, unbreakablementalstrength.com. Go to the first page, scroll down about halfway. You're going to see a mission statement there. That's all I want you to do. I just want you to read the mission statement. If it speaks to you, then consider signing up for the program. If it doesn't speak to you, that's really cool too. You're going to learn a lot from this video series. That's why I designed it. Whether you choose to work with the program and me, that's up to you. But at least you're going to start to begin to understand that you are in control of your mindset. You are in control of your destiny. You have the ability to do that. You just have to know how to use it, and then you have to apply it. Okay? Hey, I appreciate you. Thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you on the next video.